Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I recently took a trip again in the new travel rig, and I thought we would look at those pictures. We are going all the way to New Mexico. Thank you for joining me today. I think you'll enjoy this, and welcome. So I decide I'm going to shoot for the big Indian copper mine in Moab, or just south of it. And it turns out to be a lot more than that. Big Indian copper mine is where they discovered bones and then continued bulldozing over the side. Bones embedded in rock and dirt. So I hit the road. It was a much nicer day. You can see that snow is starting to melt off the side of the hills. And here I stopped once I got up and over the pass. Like I said, I always let Chief pee. And I have recently discovered this monument, of course. The Bamberger Nobody's Ever Heard of monument. And last time I was out here, everything was so covered in snow. I couldn't see this old, rounded wall. Just awesome. This little exploration just gets better and better. But I kept moving. I snapped 1 or 2 pictures, and I believe that this may have been an old world port of entry, railroad, and all kinds of other forms of transportation. This may have been a hub, but not the point today, just something on the way to my exploration. I continue down the road, and once again I stop here because I can't help it. I always stop here. This is almost to the town of Price, and even closer to that little town of Helper that I showed you in a past video. There's a river and railroad, and this is something that always interests me up here. And we can see a hollowness, and I believe that these are or were giant blocks. I'm not sure. Here we see smaller ones underneath, and this dripping effect everywhere. So I got gas and continued. Now I find myself, I don't know, another 30 miles south, not far from those lime kilns. And this was the lime kiln monument. I joked about how poor the quality was compared to the hundreds of lime kilns that we see over there at the main site. But anyways, I stopped and made coffee and continued down to Green River and finally to the outskirts of Moab. Here we are on the outskirts of Moab, quite possibly old castles in the background. And honestly, I don't really give a damn about Moab. I mean, as far as the town goes, not excited about the restaurants or any of the touristy things, except for this landscape, especially before and after, to the north and south of Moab. And I think there's a great abundance of clues out here. And I really am ridiculous about filming when I'm driving. Here I saw some stacked rocks that reminded me of things I've seen in the middle of nowhere. And they were just off of the road here. And perhaps somebody did this for no reason. Also these rocks over here, similar kind of contour, and a pipe sticking up. I actually did a U-turn to take a picture of this. And then we have this. Is this a cooked out wall? Or did someone just stack it like this for no reason? So now I've gotten back on the road in the right direction, trying not to lose my focus. And my focus actually today is New Mexico. So here now we continue down out of Moab, south, and we're approaching a rest area, just a gorgeous area to be in, and just a stupid place to be filming, at least while driving. So here again we're continuing, and I just love these formations, really seeming like cooked out structures. And there's one with an entryway, a very famous one. It looks like a bell, and it has a little doorway at the bottom. And out here is where they found the giant bones. But I didn't turn. I'm going all the way to New Mexico. But I plan on coming back, going down this road, and really checking out that mine, the big Indian copper mine. So this really starts getting interesting. I haven't filmed anything for a while. And now I'm approaching the Four Corners area. At this point, Cortez is behind me, and we can see this tower. Look at this tower, just shining over the hill. And everywhere, just monuments everywhere, like castles, really giving you the feeling that you're kind of in a place that you shouldn't be. I mean, like something horrible has happened here. I mean, it's so beautiful, and from doing this research, I've come to find that all the most beautiful things are actually cataclysmic. And even here, I mean, this may have just been a skyscraper that has melted down, and here you see the melt blasting out, and it may have very simply have been a tower. You see another one far off in the background here, and that one in the background is my destination. I had two destinations. I wanted to check out the town of Farmington, which is beyond this monument in the background. But this is a place I've visited before, and for some reason it doesn't want to let me fly my drone. I mean, ultimately they control the drone. That's all I've come to realize. I have to use their software, and it decides what you're allowed to do. If you're in a restricted zone, it tells you no and lets you fly like 100 feet up. And this is not like any national park or anything. This is just on the res. I think it's the Navajo res. So then there's this little structure out here, and I decided to check it out. I decided we'd have a little tour of it since I couldn't fly my drone for whatever reason. Really, really fascinating. Just these two next to each other. And here we can see this little structure. At one point it had bars on it, and that's, well, I don't want to say yet, it's a surprise, but you might recognize what that was back there. And before I popped into this little building, I wanted to check out the outskirts here, and it looked like there was some stone ruins, like a little half circle over here, and kind of all around it actually. So here you see two half circles, and then some more in the background behind it and behind me. I'm not sure if I'll... Here we go. So you see just a lot of what may be cooked out remains of other structures. And here it looks like somebody's graded a road, an old road, and this is a newer one here. But yeah, this gives you a pretty good feel. It looks like some is older and some is newer. That's all. A lot of different stages of construction here. And they had these bars on the windows. Maybe they used it as a prison, like everything. But really fascinating. Seeming like it was a lot nicer at one point, and now just in ruins. And almost doesn't seem that impressive. But yet the thing is like 1.5 feet thick, and doesn't make a lot of sense. This kind of thing we might see in a castle. Like something they tell us is for shooting bow and arrows through. And even this is kind of old world, this shape. And maybe this is just the top of a structure, just totally cooked out. And the rings that we saw outside were also rings like this. Now this is a circular area, and then the other part is more square. And here back on the outside, looks like someone has made a bench here. Really nice, actually. And I should just let the thing play. Again, you can see how thick it is. And here this strange window with modern bars. And here the back side, you see a kind of discoloration here, like there used to be something else. And I just kind of wanted to show a profile of that wall, and really seeming like a different material than what we see in the background, but I'm not sure. And again, you can kind of see with this tower in the background, the blast out zone, how it's just rubble. Of course, mainstream geology would tell us this was squeezed up by volcanic activity, just squeezed up. And a partial truth, always a partial truth, because they know that there's meltage going on. And so that's part of their narrative, that it was squeezed up, similar to Devil's Tower. Devil's Tower is a great example. So again, this is just a digression, and I hit the road. And now I get to the town of Shiprock. Shiprock is on the Navajo res, I believe. And I just was amazed with this old bridge on the Indian reservation that clearly must have been made for a train at one point. This is not just your ordinary bridge. Really beautiful. And we can see the massive monument in the background that looks like a castle from right here. And this really brought me back to conflicting research within myself. within a lot of members of this community. But yeah, when we started this research, it was giant trees. It was just a mind opener, and I always thought Devil's Tower was a tree. But No Forests video really opened up a lot of eyes. But that transitioned into also potentially melted structures for me. And both are on the table. Here, again, on the Indian reservation, this stone church with a little tower on the backside there. I don't think I filmed the tower. But here's my blocks that I find everywhere. And actually, I didn't go to the monument yet. And here we are in Farmington, New Mexico. Now, I didn't know what to make of Farmington. I'd always wanted to come check it out. And Farmington was old worldton, or town. Whenever you have a ton, they're talking about a town. Farming town. And this was not the farming town that I expected. Here again, my blocks. Synthetic blocks. These ones, I believe. I mean, just like a brick is a synthetic block or synthetic stone, a reconstituted mixture of minerals, essentially a giant brick, giant building block. Like all of these are just different building blocks. And they had little roundabouts. I like when towns use roundabouts. And here again, farming town. This town was made of millions of bricks, oftentimes the same building split up into several pieces as usual, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed cruising around this town. Main Street grinds. Similar to the town of Helper, it was pretty abandoned too. I mean, nothing to justify what it was. I took some pictures of the newer parts of Farmington, and that's what we would expect of an area out in pretty much the middle of nowhere. This really is the middle of nowhere. So before we look at any more of this town that has all the characteristics of a former old world town, we should look at the population. And this baby really blew me away. I mean, for what I saw on Main Street and what I'll show you in a minute, in 1910 they had a population of 700 people. This is such a latecomer. Really suspicious, because showing a building style of at least the early 1900s, and yet the population not arriving until really the 60s. The population that it would require to build out a city. 1960. And up here we see in 1901 the town was incorporated and named Farmington. So the town that was already there. No story here, or not a good one. The town was incorporated and named Farmington with a population of 500 people. And then they go on and tell us of all these plans, failed plans, to have a railroad and whatever. So I think this is a good evidence, actually. This town is founded, it's just founded in 1901. And here we go. Here is my point. Was this founded by farmers? Or a people, an old world people, who used the swastika as decorative art long before World War blank. Ding. So I don't know. This to me is actually a really great proof for a town existing. When it was founded, there was 500 people. 20 years later, there's 700 people. This is a joke. 1950, 3,000 people. 3,000 people in 1950 in this old world building. And essentially Main Street. And again, when you see what a dump the rest of the town is, I was actually really shocked to see this brick town. And really nothing spectacular. We have these in all of our towns. This looking like the top of my old coffee shop, just this ornate brick detail that's unnecessary. That's cost prohibitive to a people just starting out, if we're to believe this cowboy history. But no, the old world didn't cut corners. And so here you can see the rest of the town. Here's kind of the feel of it. And just really blah, looking like the outskirts of my town and many places in Utah. And I actually went to check out some land that was part of my investigation. because when I looked at the land on Zillow, I could see this little melted out slot canyon behind it. And so here I've parked and me and Chief checked it out. It was really, really interesting. I didn't jump down in it, although it was kind of shallow at this part and other parts got deeper. So it was nice just to explore really a place that nobody will ever see. So now let's look at the real gold. Something I've wanted to check out forever. And I've been driving by this place for over 30 years. But when we started doing this research, I initially thought that this was a massive tree. And it looks like it has a root system. 3 major branches shooting out from the center, but almost too straight to be root systems. I mean, nature just wouldn't do that. It wouldn't shoot a root system out straight. That would be less stable. But of course, I don't know. And how could any of us know? Anything, really, unless we get out and see for ourselves. And it is called shiprock, and really allows the imagination to go wild, I think, for everyone, because it does look like a ship just parked, and a ship that has been completely cooked out. But I didn't think of it all that much until Tom Green went out here. Good old Tom Green, the comedian from Canada. And he showed this piece right here. He was parked here. And when I saw it, I saw a wall. There was no way this was anything but a wall when I saw the picture that Tom Green showed. And I didn't even tell you what the mainstream says. The mainstream says this is all formed by lava. So again, similar to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, the artistically formed lava that formed in columns like it was squeezed through a pastry tube. Well, this here is also very artistic lava, if we're to believe the lava story, that all this is the result of random lava. And this wall, this part is really cooked out. So here I'm just pulling up, and immediately I recognize the area, just what Tom Green had shown. You see the different layers. I mean, these are block lines. This is not random squeezing lava. Here I've zoomed in a little more, and absolutely awesome. Here I'm panning over, and you can see like steps. Look at this. Step down, step down. This looks like my fence out back, actually. But anyway, here again, this wall. Debris right up to the edge of it. Either debris that came off of the structure as it cooked out, or debris that has been pushed up, in this case on both sides, from a cataclysm. I'm not sure. Here now, zooming in a little more. Just mind-blowing. I'm so excited that I came out here. There we can see the shiprock, and I was actually the first out here. And there could be more people out here yonder, but as far as this little parking area, I was the first to come out this morning. And of course, I knew wherever I parked, a bunch of people would come and line up next to me. So I almost thought about parking somewhere weird, but I didn't. So here's the back of our rig. Chief just loves it. It's the same truck we've had for, I don't know, what feels like 10 years now. But it's brand new to us. Just arranging it in this fashion. And that's our parking spot. And here, the first lady to pull up, and she actually just passed out, it seems like. And here we can see the wall behind me. Now, lots of cars started showing up and driving clear out here. And I wanted to, but I had done so much driving that I really had to stay focused and use my energy wisely. So I decided to just hike around here. But I felt like if I could discover a definitive fact about one part of it, it would help me with all the site in its entirety. So that's it. We jumped out and we headed up to get a better look. And I need to stay on point. Even with this video, I could really get distracted. So you see at some point the wall drops under and continues. And you can still see the burning. You see the burning here where Chief is smelling? He's smelling the burn. And all the rocks had visible signs of being cooked on one side. You could see it here as well. And you can see the mega blocks here. So again, you'll never see any of this on the internet. Not up and personal the way I'm going to show it, because I'm looking for something that other people aren't looking for. Here we go. This is like an arch that has collapsed in on itself. And you can see much evidence of blockage. This is blockage. This is not squeezing lava. These are individual blocks in horrible, horrible shape, but nonetheless blocks, and really seeming polygonal, and in some cases very uniform. And here we can see meltage. If we didn't know what we were looking at, and again, like I said, the mainstream uses lava because they have to explain this melted look. They have to throw it into the lava boat. And here you can see a very focused, cooked out point, which has changed the makeup and darkened it right here. Super exciting. And I think you can see it for yourself now. Blockage. Cooked out and melted blockage at Shiprock, New Mexico. Super, super fascinating discoveries on this day. Here we can see blockage. And this baby's been hit hard. Initially I thought I was going to share Google Earth images and all kinds of other things, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to present this the way that I wanted to. And here you can see more people showing up. This person is wearing a cap and gown as they've graduated, and they'll be taking pictures up here with the shiprock in the background. It must be a tradition at Shiprock High. And here I can show you that there is like a white shelf, almost like a sidewalk along the wall is what it looked like. And it was clearly a different color, and they clearly looked like steps. And I'll just point that out, and we may see other examples of it. But essentially we're walking along this ledge. And now you'll see Shiprock pop over. Unbelievable. I'm sure there's a lot of evidence here, but I still would like to hear people with a straight face tell me, oh yes, lava, lava. I just would like to know what they think, that's all. And maybe not tell them what I think. But then again, we're on the Navajo reservation. I mean, the Native Americans have stories that are way more aligned with what we in this community discuss. And it may very well be that they would have said, oh yes, this is an old wall and an old building. I mean, it may very well be. And I regret not talking to them. If you know the story of this shiprock, at least traditionally, please leave it in the comments. And at some point I go around the backside, and there wasn't a parking lot on the backside, and it was actually fenced off, which of course made me very curious. Here you can kind of see the backside, and it was very steep here. I was worried about Chief for a minute. I told him to stay by me. And here again, a little look at some burnage. Burn, burn, burn. Almost looks like oil, but it was everywhere. And we can see some more blockage. And up here, we can see more of the wall across the road. And let me just jump to a screenshot that I've taken here. This is what it looks like from above. So here's the shiprock. You have a line that comes out this way, and this way. So again, 3 walls, mostly buried actually. And this is actually really cool. This is exactly where I wanted to go years ago, because this is a point where the wall crosses the road. And here I found a couple rocks. This one looked like a melted out brick. It was so lightweight, but so shiny and vitrified, but like popcorn light. And there was 2 more that looked more like little formed terracotta of some sort, some building material, or we would be told pottery or something. And initially I was gonna take them, and then I realized it was wrong and I threw them out the window. Not because I cared about any law, but rather the spiritual aspect. It may not be the case, but I didn't want to take a chance. I thought it was good enough just to get them on camera. So here I am leaving, and that is my exploration of New Mexico. I do hope you enjoyed. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of this. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you next week.